That is where our powerful common sense strategy comes into the picture. Hello, my dear friend. How are you doing today? It's candidate master Ranveer Mohite here. In this video, in this game, I am going to show you a powerful and common sense chess attacking strategy. In fact, this is a strategy that has been used in many other sports and even in real life battles and wars. I want you to think about this strategy in chess whenever you see a large concentration of enemy pieces on one side of the board. So, what is this attacking strategy? Let's dive right into the game and find out. So, white opened the game with d4, black played d5. With the white pieces is playing Harry Nelson Pillsbury, who was one of the best chess players of the late 19th century. Many believe that he could have become the world chess champion, but unfortunately he had an untimely death. With the black pieces is playing Burn Amos. Pillsbury plays the move c4, and we have the very famous Queen's Gambit opening on the board. If you have watched the Netflix TV show Queen's Gambit, the name Queen's Gambit comes from this very opening. So c4 was played, black plays e6, white develops his knight, black develops his knight, and Pillsbury goes bishop to g5, pinning the knight. So black has to unpin it, and black does it with a very classic move, bishop e7. Putting the bishop in the middle between the queen and the knight. White plays e3, opening the diagonal for this bishop to get developed. Black castles, white develops his knight, b6. The idea is to put the bishop on b7 and exert influence over this central squares. And now white plays rook c1. The idea of this move will soon be clear to you. Bishop b7 was played. And now white took. We had a few exchanges in the middle of the board. And if you see, this rook is on a very nice semi-open c file. That's where the rooks want to be. And that was the whole point of playing rook a1 to c1. So that whenever white takes with the c pawn, black central pawn, this rook gets a semi-open file. Now white continued to develop his other pieces with bishop to d3. And black played rook to c8. White decided to kick away this bishop and played e4. And now the bishop went back to b7. Remember, you don't want to capture this a2 pawn because of the classic trap with b3. And this bishop just doesn't escape. Next move, white can simply attack it and just gobble it up. So b3 would have trapped the bishop. So after e4, the bishop dropped back to b7. And white continues his development with short castle, gets his king to safety. Black continues his development. White develops one more piece, that is the queen. And now there is a queen and bishop battery, which could land this bishop on the a6 square. Okay, so black didn't want to allow that and played the move a6. Not the best move. However, it is still fine. Not a very bad mistake. It would have been much better to start fighting for the center with the move c5. This would have been much better because you don't want to allow your opponent to have control over the center for a very long time. Now white has a very interesting decision to make. How to develop this rook. If white puts this rook on e1, it's on in front of its own pawn. If white puts this rook on d1, it's in front of its own pawn again. Okay. And usually you want to see if you can put your rook on a semi-open file or an open file. Okay. And there's only one semi-open file here for white. That is the c file. So white decides to double up the rooks on this c file. Okay, so he plays rook c3 with the idea to put this other rook on the c1 square. And there is another hidden idea of the move rook to c3, which you will discover soon. Black plays the move c6. Once again, it would have been much better to go c5 and strike right in the center. But c6 was played. White gets his rook to the c file. Black plays b5. And now he is ready to push c5. But white stops it with the move queen to a3. So with queen e3, one of the main ideas is that this queen is keeping an eye on this c5 square. White has 4 pieces that are keeping an eye on c5. And black cannot play c5 because black would just lose this pawn. Okay. So now black has to get more pieces to play the move c5. Which is why black plays rook c7. The queen goes to f4, attacking the rook. Black's rook defends the rook. And now black is ready to push c5. White plays the move e5. Now black decided, okay, it's time to fight for the center and goes c5. But now, all of a sudden, black is completely lost. The reason for that is all of black's pieces are concentrated on one area of the board. They are on the queen side, which means there is another area that is left completely unprotected, especially the king side. Look at the king. It has no piece to guard it. Okay. And that is where our powerful common sense strategy comes into the picture. You want to attack from the weaker side. So this move e5 not only took control of these important squares, but it also opened the diagonal for this bishop to stare at the black king, to stare at the weaker side where there is almost no black defender. Okay, so black is now in huge trouble and white goes bishop into h7 check, attacking from the weaker side. The king has to take the bishop and white goes knight to g5 check. We have one more piece joining the attack, and at the same time, you remember this rook, it went to c3 to allow this rook to come here, and at the same time this rook can now switch over to the king side and start a very quick attack against the black king. And all this queen maneuver that you saw, queen e3, queen f4, the idea was once again to get this queen near the weaker side of the enemy. Okay, so knight g5 check. Where will the king go? If you bring the king to g6, rook g3 is very dangerous. Okay, there is no cover to the black king. There are these three white pieces staring at it. It's almost a lost position. In fact, it is a lost position. So that's why black decided that the king will find shelter on g8 and put his king there. White anyway played the move rook h3. And in this position, black would love to take on d4. But that is not working, because white can sacrifice the rook with rook h8 check. And if black captures the rook, there is queen h4. There is another check. Okay, rook h8, king h8, queen h4. And this king is gonna get checkmated. Queen h7, king f8, queen h8 checkmate. Okay, know your tactics, know your patterns. Then you'll be able to spot these things very, very quickly. So that's why there is now a threat of checkmate here. Black has to make way for the king to run. So black plays the move queen to e8. The idea is now that after king f8, this king can run to e7. There is an escape square on e7. But now the white queen joins the attack with queen to h4. There is a threat of queen to h8 checkmate on the next move. Black decides to run with king f8. If there is a check, the king will run to e7 and it will look for safer grounds. But now after king f8, white plays knight h7 check. Stops this king from running to e7 by opening the diagonal for the queen and the knight at the same time giving a check to the king. So the king has to go back to g8. Now white plays knight f6 check, sacrificing the knight. If black takes with the pawn or their knight, there is once again this checkmate on h8. There is just no way for the black king to get out of it, it seems. But black can still go queen f8. Black can still go king f8, which is what happens in the game. But now white just captures the queen and there's an extra queen up. Black takes. Yes, white is a queen up, but in these positions, you don't want to allow your opponent to consolidate. It will only make your job of winning the position much, much harder. Okay, so white decides he's gonna continue his attack from the weaker side. White plays the move queen to g5. All these pieces are on the wrong side of the board. There is nobody on this weaker side of the board to protect the king. And that's where white is gonna hunt this king down from. So this rook is now gonna come to h8. Black took this pawn on d4. White decided to play the move rook h8 check, hunting the king from the weaker side. This king cannot move anywhere. So that's why black had to resign in the position. Although I have a question for you. I have a question. What if black plays the move knight f8? How will you win the game? Let me know in the comment section what do you think is the solution here. There is a forced checkmate in 4 moves in fact. So let me know what that is in the comment section. And if you enjoyed watching the video, don't forget to smash the like button. Also, one more thing, if you think about attack, you cannot go without mentioning the great Garry Kasparov. If you want to see what made his attacking skills so dangerous, here's a game that you must check out.